Chapter 24, A Place Called Birmingham. I woke up on the 16th of October to a lot of people standing around looking at me. They all had 4 eyes, 2 noses, and 2 mouths. I blinked, but it did no good. I was seeing everything in double. The first thing I thought was, thank God I'm not dead. But I had no idea where I was or who these people were. They were speaking English, although they all seemed to be from different countries. I tried to talk since I could speak English, but no sound came out. There seemed to be a tube of some kind in my throat, a tube that had stolen my voice. I was in a high bed, and all around me complicated machines beeped and purred. I understood then. I was in a hospital. My heart clenched in panic. If I was in a hospital, where were my parents? Was my father hurt? Was he alive? Something had happened to me, I knew, but I was sure something had happened to my father as well. A nice woman wearing a headscarf came to my side. She told me that her name was Rihanna, and that she was the Muslim chaplain. She began to pray in Urdu. Instantly, I felt calm, comforted, and safe. As I listened to the beautiful, soothing words of the Holy Quran, I closed my eyes and drifted off. When I opened my eyes next, I saw that I was in a green room with no windows and very bright lights. The nice Muslim woman was gone. A doctor and a nurse were in her place. The doctor spoke to me in Urdu. His voice was oddly muffled, as if he were speaking from a great distance. He told me that I was safe and that he had brought me from Pakistan. I tried to talk but couldn't, so I tried to trace letters on my hand, thinking I could spell out a question. The nurse left and came back with a piece of paper and a pen for me, but I couldn't write properly. I wanted to give them my father's number. I wanted to write a question, but everything came out all jumbled. So the nurse wrote the alphabet on a piece of paper, and I pointed at letters. The first word I spelled out was father, then country. Where was my father? I wanted to know. And what country was this? The doctor's voice was still hard to hear, but he seemed to be saying I was in a place called Birmingham. I didn't know where that was. Only later did I figure out it was in England. He hadn't said anything about my father. Why not? Something had happened to him. That was the only reason there could be. I had hit in my head that this doctor had found me on the roadside and that he didn't know my father was also hurt, or that he didn't know how to find my father. I wanted to give him my father's phone number so he could tell him, your daughter is here. I moved ever so slightly to spell out father again, and a blinding pain cut through my head. It was as if 100 razors were inside my skull, clattering and rattling around. I tried to breathe. Then the nurse leaned down and dabbed at my left ear with a piece of gauze, and blood came away on the cloth. My ear was bleeding. What did that mean? I tried to lift my hand to touch it, but I noticed, as if from a distance, that my hand did not seem to be working properly. What had happened to me? Nurses and doctors came in and out. No one told me anything. Instead, they asked me questions. I nodded and shook my head in reply. They asked if I knew my name. I nodded. They asked if I could move my left hand. I shook my head. They had so many questions, and yet they wouldn't answer mine. It was all too much. The questions, the pain in my head, the worry about my father. When I closed my eyes, I didn't see darkness, only a bright light, as if the sun were shining under my eyelids. I was fading in and out, but I never felt as if I had slept. There was only the long stretches of being awake, my head filled with pain and questions, and then not. The room I was in the ICU and didn't have windows, so I never knew if it was day or night. I knew only that no one had answered my constant question, where was my father? But eventually a new question joined it when I looked around the room at all the complicated medical equipment. Who would pay for this? A lady walked in and told me her name was Dr. Fiona Reynolds. She spoke to me as if we were old friends. She handed me a green teddy bear, which I thought was an odd color for it, and a pink notebook. The first thing I wrote was, thank you. Then I wrote, why I have no father, and my father has no money. Who will pay for this? Your father is safe, she said. He is in Pakistan. Don't worry about the payment. If my father was safe, why wasn't he here? And where was my mother? I had more questions for Dr. Fiona, but the words I needed would not come to my mind. She seemed to understand. Something bad happened to you, she said, but you're safe now. What had happened? I tried to remember. All sorts of images floated through my head. I didn't know what was real and what was a dream. I'm on a bus with my father and 2 men shoot us. I see a crowd gathered around me as I lie on a bed, or maybe a stretcher. I can't see my father, and I'm trying to cry out, "Where is Abba? Where is my father?" But I can't speak, and then I see him and I feel joy and relief. I feel someone hovering over me, a man whose hands are poised above my neck, ready to choke me. I'm on a stretcher and my father is reaching out to me. I'm trying to wake up to go to school, but I can't. Then I see my school and my friends, and I can't reach them. I see a man in black pointing a gun at me. I see doctors trying to stick a tube in my throat. I'm telling myself, "You are dead." But then I realize that the angel has not yet come to ask the questions a Muslim hears after death. Who is your God? Who is your prophet? I realize then I can't be dead, and I fight and struggle and kick and try to wake from this terrible nightmare. These images seemed very real, yet I knew they couldn't all be. But somehow I had ended up in this place called Birmingham, in a room full of machines with only the green teddy bear at my side.